Welcome you all to this information session. On board, we have here 3 alum, all of whom I know. We have Ms. Berger, class of '08, Ms. Hall, class of 2016, and Ms. Valentine, class of 1989. I'll let them go ahead and tell a little bit about themselves, but I wanted to thank them for being here today and sharing their information or knowledge with you as students. The one thing I would tell you for the students is please take advantage. If you have any questions, just ask. It's not often that you get some time with professionals that are willing to share their personal and professional experience. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of it, have some fun, and I'm hoping you guys will have a really, really good dialogue. So with that, I will turn it over to Miss Keith.
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Mrs. Keith. If you don't know me, I teach in the math department. So I would love to start with our panelists if they just want to take a turn and say a little bit about themselves and just introduce what you do.
Sure. Would you like me to go ahead and get started then? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Andrea Valentine, and I graduated from Tower Hill in 1989. I went to Haverford College, where I studied art history with a minor in economics. I spent the first 10 years of my career actually in financial services and learning how organizations operate, all the different components that need to come together and work seamlessly for an organizational culture to grow and a business to thrive. I then had the opportunity to take that into early childhood publishing and spent close to another 10 years there. And for the last 5.5 years, I've been with an educational nonprofit organization here in Wilmington that focuses on leadership development and social emotional learning. And I believe many of you probably are familiar with Strive. So thanks, excited to be here. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Erica Berger. I graduated in 2008 and then went on to the University of Delaware, where I got a bachelor's degree in sociology. I actually always knew that I wanted to work at a school like Tower Hill. I just loved my time there and just wanted to somehow continue that in my professional career. So I started actually exploring the world of nonprofits for about 3 to 4 years, and then found my way to a private boys' school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan and worked in their development office, doing things from events to donor relations and everything sort of in between. So I'm happy to be here and excited to talk to you guys.
Hi guys, I am Janelle Hall. I graduated in 2016. Then I went to the University of Delaware. I actually just graduated. I graduated a semester early, so I graduated in 2019 instead of 2020. I am the second grade teacher fellow, which it's a teacher, but it's just, I have a mentor teacher who helps and guides me. I've been in Tower Hill all my life because of my brother, but I always wanted to teach. You can ask Erica's mom was my pre-K teacher, and she said that ever since I was 4 years old, I was always in the front of the classroom wanting to help teach. So I always knew I was going to come back to education, and I'm glad I got to be able to come back to Tower Hill.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. So I'm just gonna ask a question. If you guys wanna just jump back and forth, and feel free to share what moves you, that would be awesome. Sorry, I just have a few more people straggling in. Perfect. So my first question is, what Tower Hill experiences help prepare you for your own professional life afterwards?
I can go. For me, Tower Hill was such a small community, and I always worried by the time I got out of Tower Hill that I would be so hard to make friends. But my biggest thing I took out of it was because we have a small community, it's so easy to network. So by the time I got to college and I found my professors, and when I went into the schools for student teaching, it was so easy to network. Also time management, because we have sports mandatory, time management was like the easiest thing when I got to college. You have all the time in the world to do anything you want. So it's kind of like you went from being so structured to being relaxed. So definitely you learn how to value your time.
I can share my story. So I actually discovered my current career at Tower Hill. My senior year, I was volunteering with the development office and helping them plan for homecoming and do some other events they had coming up my senior year. And I just fell in love with it. And just being able to interact with people, and also I realized that I could still be at a school, but without being a teacher. Personally, teaching wasn't something for me, but I love the fact that I could still get that school community and involved with kids, and still have that warm, fuzzy feeling of working at a school, but in kind of a different role that I didn't know existed until I was at Tower Hill.
And I would just add, for me, I agree with everything that Janelle and Erica have said. For me, it was really also multitasking, being able to multitask, as well as be comfortable in challenging situations, and really learning how to tackle those, even when the challenge may seem big. And then the last thing I'd say is teamwork. Everything I do now involves working with people who have different types of expertise and different backgrounds, and so being able to develop those relationships and form teams in a work setting is really something that I learned at Tower Hill, and has really benefited me throughout my careers.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear you guys had great experiences at Tower Hill and that it actually transferred to your real lives. I think Ms. Berger actually touched on this, that education doesn't just have to be teaching. And I think a lot of people have that misconception. I don't know if any of you would like to talk about that a little bit more.
So I'm happy to start. I really, my passion for education developed a little bit later on in my career. And it was when I moved into the early childhood publishing company, and it happened to coincide when I had 2 young children. And it was really interesting for me to see how all of the skills I had learned in my previous job in financial services could be applied in a completely different sector, focused on a completely different audience, which was young children and the educators who serve them. And it just opened up a whole new world. And then in this most recent role, being able to translate that into a nonprofit environment that's more focused in scope, as far as like community, the Wilmington and the Mid-Atlantic region. That's where we do the bulk of our work, versus where I was at Teaching Strategies, which was more national in scope. And I will tell you, this is interesting. When I was at Teaching Strategies, one of our interns, I was not involved in the hiring process, is actually a Tower Hill alum, Tim Reed. And he ended up staying on at Teaching Strategies for years. And I think he may still even be there and working there. So that was pretty cool to have that experience as well.
I know for me, some misconception, just because I just got out of college, everybody thinks that education is like the easiest route to go through. Like you're just drawing smiley faces and making posters all the time. And actually that is what we did, especially if you're in elementary. I teach 2nd grade, so that's basically what I do all day. But it's actually challenging, especially now, because when I was in school, it was mostly know your facts and memorize them. but now they're teaching teachers understanding the why of the math and understanding how we got there, and we have to teach our kids that now. So I definitely like that a lot of that is changing, and that misconception that education is not an easy route. It's not for a soft soul. Like, you're working all day, especially if you're in elementary, you're tired when you get home all the time. So that's what a big misconception that hurts my heart, but I still take pride in it because I'm in this profession.
And to kind of tag on to what Janelle said, I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I'm around teachers every day. And especially this year, like, these teachers are just going above and beyond and doing so much that I'm just like, can't believe what teachers around the country are doing for our kids. But I would also just say, kind of look at Tower Hill and just see the different facets of the community and faculty at the school, because there are so many different roles there. There's admissions, there's finance, development. I'm probably missing some, but it's something I never really looked at when I was at school. I just thought of, okay, I'm going to class, these are my teachers, that's what a school is. And it really is so fun to be able to be a part of the school community, but just in a different way, and really get to know a lot of our students. And like, I have the opportunity, like Mr. Twyman said, he's an advisor, I'm an advisor, so I still get that connection, but without being in the classroom every day.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So kind of just a fun one to maybe give our students some wisdom. If you could speak to your own high school self, what words of wisdom would you tell yourself?
For me, I would definitely tell myself to volunteer more. I knew I enjoyed kids, but I didn't know I was going to go into the education field until I got to college. So I wish I volunteered, got out there more, volunteered, got out there more, do tutoring, do after school programs to see what I liked and see if I did want to go into the education field, because then I could have started my career a little bit sooner and not enjoy my freshman year just looking around, but definitely to just get out there and volunteer while I'm in high school.
I would say just go with your gut feeling. I remember when I was a senior and looking at schools, everyone was looking at the communications major, and that was just like the really popular major. So like, okay, like PR, that sounds really fun, not realizing that I could tie that in with this world of development. So I feel similar to Janelle, that kind of delayed me a little bit my freshman year, rather than just realizing what I did love was the education and development side of a school, and focusing on that.
I think Janelle and Erica, that's both like really good advice. I agree with both of you. And I think, to build on what they both shared, I'd also encourage my high school self to, really be curious and not, while at the same time pursuing your interests, realize that you're going to continue to learn more opportunities will be coming available to you, things that you may not even know are available. And, I know when I was in high school, the idea of educational technology really wasn't a thing. And it's such a big part, as we're experiencing in this moment, in education right now. So just maintaining that curiosity in the areas that are of interest to you, and being open to exploring new opportunities as they come up.
Perfect, thank you. I keep hearing the word unprecedented, but I think that's the times we're in. Do you guys have any predictions about how education might change after this year, or how you even saw it changing before 2020?
I know for Tower Hill, definitely, we're like so used to no snow days. And now I feel like we will never have a snow day ever again because of Zoom. But I am actually in getting my master's in education technology. So it's fine that you brought that up. But I really do think like as much as we parents don't like screen time, like the world is just adapting and everything's going to be on screen time. And we're going to have to adjust, especially doctors, like your hands and your eyes and us sitting on the screen all day. So teachers in the classroom have to make sure we have that balance between writing on paper and using screen time because the world is adjusting and going to technology.
So I am coming at it a little bit from a parent perspective of parents of students. And a lot of my job is doing parent events or parent speaker events where we have a speaker come to the school, it's at night, or maybe a committee meeting in the morning. And that's very limiting for a lot of parents. So we've actually found our participation from parents has gone up extremely with the Zoom platform. And even from an alumni perspective, we just had an alumni event and virtually, of course, and we had alums join that had never been able to come to New York for an alumni event. So we're kind of starting to talk about how we're going to keep this going, you know, hopefully next year when everything's back in person, but we do want to keep that connection we've established for people that either can't make it or are across the country. So it's been a kind of an interesting conversation to have.
I think accessibility is definitely a big part of this, and you know, different elements of education being accessible through technology, you know, whether it's directly with students or with families. I actually, I think that question, Nicole, is going to probably be best answered to the high schoolers sitting in this meeting today, who are experiencing this right now. So, you know, as they get older and go through college and enter the workforce, they're going to be the ones changing that paradigm. And that was Otis. He was excited about the prospect of that too.
Awesome. Actually, I did want to open it up to any student questions as well. So if you guys have any, you could either raise your hand in the chat or you could jump on.
Hi guys, I just unmuted the classroom.
Okay.
What do you guys have to ask?
Sam, go. Hi, is it
You
here?
can come
It's probably
up
up
here
there.
too. Yeah. So they can see you. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, oh wait, okay. Hi, hi, I'm Zippy. I'm a sophomore and I have a question. My question is that, I know probably doesn't pertain or whatever you call it, probably doesn't particular to you guys, but how did you know, like, at what moment did you realize that I know you guys probably answered this a couple times already, but how did you know when you went to go into education, how did you know what to be, or like what helped you get there in college? Like what classes did you take? There's 3 questions in there. I have 3 questions in there.
Yeah, Zip.
Yeah, it's okay. She thought on her feet. She gets credit.
Yeah.
I can go. When I was a freshman, I went into early education, which is like a preschool. And I mean, I love babies, but I don't think I would want to change diapers all day. So then I got into the elementary. Oh, and I really, not that I don't love you big kids, but I'm literally the same height as you and probably smaller. So I really would not like to be in high school or middle school because I've been this height since 6th grade. So I was like, let me try elementary school. So I went to elementary school and I used to struggle when I was at Tower Hill with like math. And so as soon as I got to my first teacher's math for teachers class, and I was learning the basics on how to do addition, like a single digit by a double digit. I absolutely fell in love, and I was like, I want to teach the kids at the grade that I was struggling, because I know how they felt.
So I think for me, I knew I always had an interest in business. And so, obviously my, connection with education is a bit different, in that I'm not a classroom teacher or work within a school. But I was always interested in business. And when I connected my interest in business with a publishing company, that's where, I really found passion in being able to use what my talents were, and being a part of teams and helping building teams and organizations to support the organization's ability to develop curriculum and other tools and services that would support educators. And so that was really exciting. And I obviously learned a lot being a part of that environment. And then again, now what I'm doing in the nonprofit sector in education is both providing the support to the team to develop the programs that we deliver to students, to young people, and to the educators who work with them. So so again, it's similar to Janelle. It starts with an interest, and you just kind of build from there.
Sorry. For me, so once I decided that development was kind of where I wanted, the direction I wanted to go in college, there's not a major for development. So I kind of explored what would fit it best. And I found that sociology would be my best route. And because so much of development is dealing with different types of people, you're dealing with students, you're dealing with parents, you're dealing with alumni, and just kind of how to manage people and manage those situations that you might be in. And honestly, just getting all of the experience I could through internships really was what the internships were really my best piece of advice to you guys for truly discovering what fits for you and what doesn't.
Awesome, thank you. I think, Marissa, you have a question?
Yeah, hi, I'm Marissa. I'm a junior, and I was wondering, a few of you mentioned volunteering, but what other advice would you give to high school students for things we can do to prepare us if we're looking to go into some aspect of education?
So I think if you, I think it's exploring and finding opportunities in all areas of education. So, volunteering, and also looking for internships and jobs, but also, you can explore online different, all the different components and facets of education. So within a school setting, or within a nonprofit, or the service provider sector, really start to explore the broader sector, if you're still unsure, if you are connected to education and are interested in it, but aren't quite sure if you want to teach or be in a role like Erica in development, or be in a role like mine where you're in kind of management and administration of a services organization. It's really starting to understand what all the different elements are that make up the entire sector and help contribute to it functioning. And so there's, research and then finding jobs in those areas, and, drawing on us and people within the Tower Hill community who can help with introductions and answer some of the questions that you have.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Delaney, and my question is, what does your typical work week look like, and how do you kind of handle like work and life balance?
I can go since I'm at Tower Hill every day. I get there. You guys start at 8:30. Lower school starts at 7:45. So I get to school by 7:30, 7:45. The kids are, of course, they're little, so they're rambunctious. As soon as they come in, they're like yelling and screaming. Um, we don't switch classes except for specials like art or Spanish or theater. So we have the kids all day from 7:45 to 3 o'clock. Um, but honestly, it's like your typical day for at least for me. I have my reading, my writing, my math, social studies. We also have a curriculum called a MAZE, which is an anti-bias program, literacy program. But our day is lower school at least is typically the same as you guys. We just stay in a classroom and one teacher teaches you every subject as you guys switch classes.
My day is more of a 9 to 5 kind of day, and then if we have events, we'll stay later. I do want to say though that some of you guys do know my mom, Mrs. Bickart, and having her as a parent, I really loved that she was around all summer and then spring breaks and winter breaks, and I was like, okay, how can I get that same schedule, because it was just such a nice treat to not have to, go to camps all the time and all that stuff, because she was always there. So that's kind of another part of why working in a school, but in a non-teaching role, gives you a little bit more of that flexibility, which is something that I really wanted for myself, especially when I become a parent.
So yeah, so for me, it's been something that over the course of my career has changed, or what my day looks like. Right now, I spend my days, sometimes a lot of it is focused on relationship building, and as well as staff development, which means helping the members of the team of people I work with, supporting their continued growth and development. And relationships is, developing and working with organizations throughout Delaware and neighboring states. And sometimes it just, the workload kind of, has peaks and I wouldn't say valleys, but definitely peaks, and then it plateaus a little bit. And in educational services, our busiest times tend to be leading up towards the end of the summer, when schools are getting ready to welcome students back into the community. And so, so it's a little bit of a different experience than what Erica was explaining. And it's been, I think, one of the exciting things about what I've been doing is on the relationship and partnership side is in early childhood, getting to connect with, having the opportunity to connect with people at organizations like Sesame Workshop, going up to New York City and meeting Elmo and all of that. So there are definitely some perks as far as that's concerned. So that was a lot of fun. And it just, balance, I think, is something that you guys are learning right now. And, you'll carry that through college and into your career. And I think it just looks different for everybody based on the career choice and path that you take. So.
Awesome. Amani?
Hi, I'm Imani and I'm a sophomore. And my question is, what skills did both Tower Hill and college give you that help you in your job?
It's definitely teamwork for me. That's something that I learned, whether it was group projects in the classroom or on the athletic field. That's number one, and I draw upon that every day.
I would have to agree. I think Tower Hill really prepared me for my career personally, I feel like because we were such a small community, there were so many more opportunities that I felt like I had in high school than compared to college when at UD, where I was, in a big lecture hall and still that group work, which was great, and more with people you didn't know. So definitely a different sort of opportunity you have. But I would just say, just throwing in a little piece of advice, just take every ounce of what you're getting at Tower Hill and really, really appreciate it while you have it.
I definitely agree with Erica with the appreciating part, because I know like Tower Hill is hard. Like you will realize when you get to college that like we were doing harder stuff in high school than you do in college. Like college is honestly, all of my friends who graduated say college is a breeze compared to Tower Hill. So definitely take advantage of what you're doing because it definitely prepares you. It helps you with a balance, like Andrew was saying, the working, doing everything, multi-benefactor, doing everything well. Like you know how to balance, like, okay, I need to get my stuff done, but okay, I can still relax and have a me time. So
I would say a couple other things. One is writing. That's, we talk about like a hard skill that you do a lot of in high school, writing. And for me in my role, I draw upon math, but, more in an Excel setting, but understanding math concepts are both writing and both things that I draw on every day as well.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I have a question. So it was more about the AMAZE program that was mentioned. I was wondering if when you were in college or other higher education, if anything or any courses that were geared towards representation, especially in younger kids and how you teach and what you teach in books and literature, if you were taught anything and how you implemented that. And if you have any advice to us as what type of questions we should be asking when we're in like the seeking for jobs outside of college in terms of representation and yeah.
So that program is amazing. I absolutely love that Tower Hill adapted it, and they are taking in what we're doing outside of the world with the social justice and bringing it in. I know when I was at Tower Hill, there wasn't a lot of representation for a minority, and when Bessie came on, she just did a great job of trying to make Tower Hill diverse. In college, I actually didn't learn that much about their amazing representation until I got to my senior year when I started going into the schools and they started talking about equity because that's what the world was around in then, but they just had adopted it. For getting a job, I would say most jobs now in the world, just in general, is really pushing towards being fair and social justice. So it's honestly like the biggest topic. So I would just use all of that energy to put forth, like looking for a job or doing anything.
Let's see, does anyone have any other student questions? Okay. Oh, we got another one.
Hi, it's Zippy again. Do you think that education, particularly in middle school and high school, will ever move past the fact that we're just going through tests and quizzes just to get to tests and quizzes, or the part we'll move past that and where we're trying to get to the part where we're trying to learn, like if you understand what I mean, like we're trying to absorb all the information and keep it with us.
for me, just because I'm a classroom teacher, I think that's really a teacher preference. I'm in elementary school, so we don't have tests as much, but we still do give tests. But I never liked tests when I was a child, so I wouldn't want to give my child, my students a test. I'm big on, they're called formative and some summative assessments. Formative assessments are like little checkups, like a little thumbs up, I got it. And summative assessments are like the tests or quizzes, but you can test somebody's knowledge any way you want. I'm big on projects because I'm a very hands-on visual person. So for example, I just taught landforms, and instead of giving them a sheet saying, right, can you list this many landforms, explain them, I made them create a whole diagram based on landforms. And I know in middle school, they do that a little bit. I remember in 8th grade, I did a diagram. High school, just because they're preparing you for college and you do have a lot of tests and quizzes. So that's probably the only reason why high school has a lot of tests and quizzes. But I definitely do believe it is a teacher preference that some teachers, they might want you, and a subject based too. Because for math, you can't always do a project. But for certain subjects, you can do projects. So it's definitely based on how the teacher will like to teach you.
Yeah, I agree with Janelle, and I'd add that there are a lot of conversations around what competency-based learning looks like, and building on project-based learning that you see in elementary school, what that looks like in high school settings. And I think that that's a trend to keep your eye on. There are high schools across the country that are centered around projects and different project-based learning approaches. And I think that as you start to see shifts in what colleges are looking for as far as admissions criteria goes, as long as what high schools are doing and what colleges are expecting are aligned, that's where I think you'll be able to start to see some of that shift that you were talking about. But I do think there's certainly more of a conversation about it now, more of an interest in exploring that now than there was when I was in high school and college.
And just going off of that, they're doing a lot of studies, like you said, that are showing that like tests and quizzes just give kids anxiety, like the SAT. So it's like, are they performing at their best? Are they showing their best work? Because you might know the information, but you can't put it out because you're so stuck on, I have a test, I need to get everything right. So I do like that they're having that conversation saying, is this working, the old fashioned way working, or should we shift to another direction?
Imani, do you have another question, or is your hand up from earlier?
Yeah, I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Imani again. My question is, what do you think is the best way to create a safe and healthy learning environment for your students or your peers?
A safe learning and healthy would definitely be, you have to build your rapport with students and your peers, so like your coworkers, because if you don't have that connection, it would be very hard to have a conversation. I always say that your classroom and your school should be a safe place where you can talk about anything, go to anybody, no matter how you feel. So just building that rapport with your teachers and your peers around you, so you do feel comfortable. And Tower Hill is a great place to do that because we're so small. Like, you will know. I know the grades are kind of growing. Like when I was there, I only had 60 kids in my grade, and I know Joshua's grade has like 90 kids in their grade. So we're kind of getting to like the public school when you don't know everybody, but it's still good to like know your teacher and be able to go up to them if you're struggling, or just if you're having a personal problem and they can realize that you performed poorly on an exam because you had something going on personally in your life.
Yeah, and I'd say, like, even in that, in any work environment, building relationships with your colleagues and staff is really important. I think understanding what what the organization's values are and how you embody those in, whether it's in a classroom or in a business, how your actions reflect those on a day-to-day basis. That really is what helps build a community and kind of ground everyone on the same page and on the same, foundational elements. So, yeah.
I completely agree with everything Janelle and Andrea said. Talking about the workplace, I would just say, again, yeah, building that rapport with your colleagues. And personally, I work on a small team. There's about 5 of us. And just being willing to kind of pitch in and help wherever it's needed, it really goes a long way. Even if it's not technically your job, just being there for your colleagues really, really helps. And also back to what Janelle said, some of my teachers at Tower Hill were the best teachers I ever had. And when I really formed those relationships with them and was able to talk to them if I was struggling, they were so helpful. And I can remember specific situations in English where you don't probably know him, but Mr. Atkins, like, he would sit down with me and help me through something that I was really struggling with. I might have been a little scared at first to go talk to him, but I'm so glad I did. So just remember that.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more question from, it was in the chat, and it says, are there any roadblocks or challenges you faced while on your path to where you are right now?
Of course, my brother writes the hardest question. Roadblocks, definitely. College, I wasn't, I sort of say, a school person, so college was probably the hardest thing for me. Just because you're on your own, you're away from your parents, you have to time manage your time. Like, I don't have somebody nagging at me saying, go do your homework, go do your paper. So for me, like, just college in general, even though I graduated a semester early, was the biggest roadblock because I didn't have that support system sitting right next to me telling me what to do. And then finding a job, like, the world is changing a lot. So since I graduated in December, I just missed COVID, but nobody wanted to leave their job by the end of the school year because they were really scared that I can't go anywhere else because of COVID. So that was another roadblock. So definitely college, just being away from home and then not being able to find a job in the world today.
I'd have to agree with Janelle that college was definitely a little bit more of a struggle for me, and something that I'll tell my kids one day, don't really try hard, and you're only getting this opportunity once. So I'm lucky that everything, my path led me to where I'm supposed to be. But other roadblocks, I'm trying to think. I kind of bounced around in jobs in the beginning, but I think that's a little natural when you're first out of college, kind of just figuring out what you want. So don't think that you have to, the first job you get out of college, that you have to stay at that for a long time. Me and most of my friends we're about 8 years out of college, and I think we're all on our 3rd or 4th job by this point.
Well, I would add to that, more on the challenges side. I was really lucky with my first job out of college, and working with the company that I was working with, because we had an opportunity to move departments almost every year. So I was able to, get a lot of exposure, and it was always really fresh. And I felt like I was, always and constantly learning. Some of the challenges have been, and this is just part of being in any organization, is not so much. I think we learn a lot about how to advocate upwards and how to talk to your supervisor, and when things don't feel right. But in a work environment, like how do you have those conversations with a colleague or a peer? And that's what I'd say has been the most challenging part of transitioning from school into my profession. But once you figure that out, once you have that conversation for the first time, and kind of get your feet under you with those, it's not like something that happens on an ongoing basis. But that's just a dynamic that I remember kind of having to encounter early on in my career.
Well, Ms. Valentine, Ms. Hall, Ms. Berger, we really, really appreciate you giving your time and advice and wisdom. So I'd love if everyone could give you a round of applause. Awesome, thank you. And then for all the students, I'm gonna put a survey in the chat, and you also got the survey from Mr. Silva as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Adios. Have a good night. Have a good night.
Mrs. No, it'll be Mrs. Mom. Thanks, Miss Keith. No, because you can still be like Mrs. Mom.